stories written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. He's from the city, she's from the south. Two different chapters told miles out. That back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. So many stories right in front of me. Some people climb to heights I've never seen. Too many falling down off their feet. These stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Tiptoe around with face of a stranger. Quiet observer, never get too close. I see the world, but it's through this window. Another side to see, I'm ready to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. He's from the city, she's from the south. Two different chapters told miles out. That back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. Why
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the internet, Silverline Silver Sunday, hosted by Curtis Fujita!
Welcome to Silverline Sunday. I am officially drunk with power. Thank you for that amazing introduction.
It's all downhill from here.
It is. That's all I got. Good night.
So
So welcome everybody. This is our final show for 2020. And
the year that's
you all
been
know what that
2020.
means. So 2020.
After that
should be better.
announcement, you should have came on as like a little. Well, hi, this is.
Yeah. No, it should have been like this.
Yeah, like sneaking out or something.
Well, good night, everybody.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
There you go.
Well, we'll go around. We'll make our introductions and get going. We're going to kind of play it fast and loose tonight. Our topic is random questions. So we're going to be using a computer, internet app or program or whatever you want to call it, generator. It's going to generate random questions and we're going to answer them. I'm Curtis Fujita. I'm the creative director at Silverline. I'm also a artist who's working in video games, comics, animation, and I am the creator of the upcoming Silverline comic book Shadow Ghost, hopefully coming soon in 2021. So that's enough about me. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic back to Tim. And Tim, if you'd be so kind as to introduce yourself.
I am Tim GK, associate editor at Silverline and writer/creator of Wolf Hunter. I also run the craft series on our blog. And I'm the main producer of the Wednesday night show, filling in today.
Excellent. And next up, we have Barb. Barb, please feel free to introduce yourself.
I am Barbara Kalberg. I am an inker of 30 plus years. I'm the CFO of Silverline. I'm the creator, co-writer, inker, and colorist on my own book, Divinity. I am the inker on Cat and Mouse, and I am the colorist on Sirens. And if Peter says I'm just a penciler, I'm going to strangle him.
You make me follow Bob.
And it looks like next on our list is Mr. Peter Clinton.
I knew you didn't make me follow Bob. Just a penciler. I have one job at Silverline. I'm the penciler on Silverline Team Up Champion of Miss Fury. We are coming through issue 2 now. I'm not sure where issue 1 will hit Kickstarter, probably in the new year or some point. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I do. This is why I hate following Barb, because Barb has lists all these things she does. I'll just do one thing. I just pencil. And that's
You do it so well. You put me to shame.
Well, thanks. Yeah, so that's it. Move on.
There you go. A man, a few words. Next up is John, the Viking, Prince Voltan Martin. John, talk to the people.
Hey, everybody. I am an inker here at Silverline. I am inking Friar Rush and Wolf Hunter. That Tim is writing. I also do some work for Upper Deck and Dynamite, doing sketch cards for them. And who knows what other craziness and whatnot I'll get into in the new year. I do want to say real quick, thank you to everybody, all the fans out there and all that. I won't be on this feed very long because I'm still hanging out with my daughter. But I do want to say, the last show, thank you to all the fans and everybody that supported Silverline and everything that we do.
Okay.
Absolutely. And next up is
hello.
Hey, is Roberta
Hey,
Conroy?
Roberta.
Roberta, please introduce yourself to the folks.
Hi. Well, I'm Roberta Conroy, and I'm former Malibu colorist and currently working as a colorist for the Champion and Miss Fury. Was the beginning what we call it, the Silverline
Team Up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, that and Cat and Mouse coming up, so exciting.
Excellent. And last but certainly not least is Mr. Aaron Humphreys. Aaron, please introduce yourself to the folks.
I am the penciler on Fire Rush, which John is inking, and I am looking to do more stuff for Silverline next year, so that's exciting. More news on that in the future. And I do my own comic, Godlings, which you can see on Webtoons, which I hope to finish up in the next few months. So that is exciting. I'm starting issue 10 out of 12. So I'm getting down there.
Yeah.
Very
Going
cool.
down.
Very cool. Well, excellent. And I'm sure some of you watching may be wondering, where is our fearless leader, Roland Man? Roland isn't available this evening. And so I took the keys to the car and I'm driving us to our next destination. So what we're
That's
going
why
to
you see
cover...
a sense of fear in all our faces.
Exactly.
So what's happening there?
Abject fear.
Strap in your
Abject
seatbelts,
fear.
you guys.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's going to be a bumpy ride. So tonight's topic, like I said, it's going to be pretty interesting. So we have a random question generator. I'm going to hit the button and we're going to answer whatever question shows up. So let's do this and we'll get started. First question.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Number 16.
That's the direction you want.
Oh boy. I said let's go for it. What's an unpopular opinion you have?
I'll start then.
Oh, nice.
Well, let's set the theme. I really like the last 3 Star Wars films.
You're a fan of them.
Yeah, I do. I
Okay.
really like them.
Yeah, but he's
Everyone seems to hate them. I thought, they're cool. It's a bit of fun, isn't it? I don't see
Sure.
what the big hang up is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I'll start.
I think
I
the
want to
Walking
set a
Dead
Star Wars
sucks.
thing for the evening, but I
Yeah.
quite like them.
And I will counter Peter with my most unpopular opinion, the one that will chase me down. And I think Peter's actually plotting to come over and hunt me down.
So the dog just walked in the room. He's going to go and lie down now.
I am not a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know.
Right, I'm switching off now. I'm switching off.
Wow.
Right,
I know it's not. I
Wow.
know, but I'm
How
not.
dare you
so,
say that?
I know.
Well, we know who's not invited to the parties.
I know. Fine, I don't want to come to your stupid party anyways.
That's okay. I think The Walking Dead sucks.
Never
The
seen it.
TV show. I think it is absolutely terrible. I tried to watch. I got 5 episodes in, and I can't. 5 episodes into it, and I couldn't watch anymore.
You know, I had to kind of concur with him. I think I got through 1 season and was like, these. As I was like, every once in a
Oh,
while,
no,
I'm like, "Man, there's
God.
zombies in this show." They don't even get to Adam.
Well, I
like
lost it
the
in the
first couple
second
episodes.
season of Walking Dead, but then my friend said, "Oh, you just got to get past the second season, then it gets really good again." But by that point, I think there was 6 seasons in, and I was like, "Oh, it's just a bit too much to catch up on."
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. I liked it for a while, but then eventually it's just so dreary and so bleak, and especially nowadays. I think like I don't know if you guys saw Stephen King, The Stand came out, the new series on CBS All Access, and I'm like, this is not doing anything for my mood right now. I don't need to be in the
This
plague.
is not the
watching the plague.
time.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
probably the worst because I watched The Stand. It's depressing, and I know the storyline. That's probably the worst series that come out at the end of 2020. I mean, because what it's about, I'm just like, maybe we should wait till next year for this,
Exactly.
Or wait till 2025.
or something like that. Yeah.
All right, my unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
I actually like Battlefield Earth.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
that's a take.
Tim's like, and I think they've cut all our live streams everywhere. We're no longer live anywhere.
Are we sure this is the real Bard? Is this a doppelganger? Is this a?
Every once in a while, you get a movie that's so bad, I love it.
Sure.
And I
So
get-
did you? Are you part of Scientology? Bart?
No. No.
Well,
No, I just like the
are
movie.
you really the T-1000?
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one.
But you like it because it's campy, right? It's not like you hold it as the highest level of
Oh
science
no,
fiction.
no! I just
Okay.
it was entertaining. It was highly entertaining.
Okay.
It certainly I wouldn't put it like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I love.
I know everyone.
Person doesn't like the
Shots
Marvel
fired.
films.
But just think how many movies are in that damn cinematic universe and how
And
much
it's
time I get to
magnificent,
say.
isn't it? It's magnificent.
And
How
they're
about
not
you? It's like-
done.
How much?
And they're not
chocolate
even.
do
They've
you
got another
want,
20 in next year.
Yeah.
How about you, Roberta?
Yeah. Let's hear.
I'm trying to think of what I should say because there's always things to get in trouble with.
We're starting
That's the
this stream
point.
off right.
I know. I'm and probably the only one that saw Ghostbusters 10 times in a row in the theater when it came out. Nobody
That's
understood.
not bad. That's
Which
pretty
one? The
good.
new
which-
one
But
or the old
nobody
one?
got it. Like, none of my friends cared, except for the friend that I saw it with.
You mean
Which-
the new one or the
which
old one?
No, the old one in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
obviously.
that
Yeah,
one's
before
actually
that.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For a minute, I thought you meant
quite
the
like
new one.
I quite like the new one actually. I thought it was
Yeah,
funny.
it's better.
Yeah, but do you like the new Star Wars films, Peter?
Oh,
I
come
do
on.
like the new Star Wars films. I'm not
I mean,
gonna
I'm
say they
kind of
don't.
with
I do.
Peter on that one. I like the new Star Wars film too. I mean,
Oh, I
I'm not so attached to the original trilogy that I can't see past anything different.
Oh no! You know, it's funny. I just give people crap about this, but I have a friend who our taste in movies is so different that he will literally be like, you know, I saw this movie last night. I absolutely hated it. You should probably check it out, Aaron. You'd probably like it.
Yeah.
Like, he actually gives you recommendations, and I've actually done the same to him. Like, this movie was crap. You should check this out. You probably like this.
Yeah.
Well, see, I can't stand anything made by Will Ferrell. I will not watch Will Ferrell. I can't stand him.
Yeah.
Can't stand him.
I'm a big
He's
fan
not
of him.
funny.
He's not funny at all.
He's not funny.
But it's a
well, I
train
do-
wreck kind of not funny, though.
Yeah, but it's an embarrassing. I don't want to see it kind of train wreck, you know.
I don't know. I do find his films funny.
Yeah, I think it's
They
pretty
are.
funny.
I laugh at half of them, and the other half I can't take it.
Yeah,
He usually
it's
never
an-
got him away to watch him. I don't really have an opinion because I think I've seen him here and there. I know who he is, but I've never. I
I mean,
honestly
I
just
think the
don't
only
really
one
like.
that he.
I think comedies after the early '90s kind of just all bombed for me. I don't know. I think it's just a change of sense of humor in movies. I can't. I'm a very dry sense of humor, and they totally got rid of that in most movies.
Yeah. It's
Mm.
the only thing I ever liked that he ever did was the SNL sketch where Christopher Walken needs more cowbell.
Cowbell.
Yeah, that
That's
was
perfection.
funny.
That was it.
Absolutely.
That was the top of his career, and he went down from there.
Well, I think the only movie that he did that was actually that anybody can really say is a decent movie was Elf.
No.
Why
I-
is that
I
decent?
still have never seen that movie.
Will
I
not.
mean, when you talk about movies that he's actually done that were decent, like you could probably some people could find a way to like actually find it funny compared to some others. I mean, Elf is probably the only one.
I mean, I can get through Step Brothers, but because of John C. Riley mostly.
John C. Reilly's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Step Brothers. That's one
Step
of my
Brothers is funny.
Catalina Wine Mixer.
Yeah.
Great movie. So Tim, we haven't heard from you. What's your unpopular one?
My hot take to kind of counteract Peter here is the official Star Wars canon for me still is the old Legends material. It's the old books.
Mhm.
Yeah. But perhaps a bit more topical. I'll say that just because Cyberpunk 2077 is buggy doesn't mean it's a bad game.
It is unplayable in its current state. Now,
See, but see, the thing is though, I'm fully PC elitist, so I have the
Yeah,
built
but
up
you-
rigs.
yeah, the PC one,
Yeah.
yeah. Because you know,
Yeah.
the funny thing is I know on PlayStation 4 it was not playable, but in
Yeah.
PlayStation 5, is it? I never could figure that out.
I heard that
It's
it's
not
playable
on
on
Play-
next gen, but they've taken it off everything because of how bad it's performing on the previous generations.
Yeah.
Before we go too deep into it, so for people that are watching or aren't aware what we're talking about, so Cyberpunk 2077 is a very is a game that everybody was looking forward to. We've
For like
been hearing
7
news
years.
about for like 7-8 years, something like that. Just high expectations, and it was kind of like it was your birthday, but then a really gnarly person belly flopped on top of your birthday cake. Is
Yeah.
kind of what it was for the people that had the old generation consoles, and they've just gotten reamed to the point where for the first time in PlayStation history, PlayStation removed the digital version of the game off the store
Yeah.
and issued refunds. So it's
Which is why everybody should still be playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla and not even.
Was
going
that?
to
Did you like
game.
that, John?
Oh, it is great.
Did you
Okay.
like that one? Okay. 'Cause I
I'm
remember you-
60 hours into this game and I'm only like 14% through it.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
still
wow.
playing Ghost of Tsushima, which is a
Nice.
very interesting game because you can actually make haikus in it. They play flute music and it's very calm
Ooh.
until you see
Oh, you
somebody
can-
on the
you can
street and then you
flight.
must stain the grass, the blood of your enemies. And I'm like, wait, what?
You can actually do flighting in Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's rad.
I
Well, I
don't
guess-
game.
yeah.
So we have another question.
It
well,
would take
for
too
my-
much time away from my reading books. So.
Oh, that's right. It's Curtis's turn.
Yeah, for me it would be and I don't think it's necessarily popular, but I can't stand quinoa. I do not know what
Interesting.
is up with quinoa. Quinoa and me, like, no.
That's certainly an unpopular opinion for the West Coast.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. You know,
Yeah,
Can't
it's hard
stand
to
what?
avoid it.
What was
quinoa.
that? What the heck is
Quinoa.
that?
It's like if you put a bunch of scabs in a bowl and then put something on top of it to eat. That's what quinoa would be.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. So
The hell?
yeah,
It's
exactly.
kind of like
It's
kind of like
not-
healthier granola.
Yeah.
What?
It's really gross.
It's just a grain.
It's take a look. You can look it up and enjoy. Yeah, I've had it.
I
It's
can only guess that somebody's trying to bring it into the South and they got shot at the border.
See, I've gone full West Coast and just put some quinoa on a burrito. You know.
Oh god.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts so bad.
well, after I get Roland the New Mutants movie, I gotta get Vegeta a lifetime supply of quinoa. These
Yeah.
Christmas
Yeah.
gifts write themselves.
My goodness. Well, let's go on to the next question. So this is very apropos. So what have you created that you are most proud of? That's create comic books, stuff like that. So who's first? What have you created that you are most proud of?
Well, I'm going to go with the
People are gonna go say they're
stereotypical mom thing and say
They're going
my
to say the
children.
kids. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
You-
Peter's like, that's such a cop out.
I can't say that.
No.
'Cause I can't say that. I'm going to say my dog then. My dog. I'm most proud of my dog.
You created your dog out of spit and paper clips. Yes,
I
I
raised-
did.
I raised him.
It's paper mache.
It's a
I have
really
amazing kids. so,
Full Metal
you know.
Alchemist reference.
But then I suppose after that it would be Divinity, which is my very first creator-owned book. So
Yeah.
There you go.
there you go.
Excellent. Well, I think Peter was next. I think.
Oh, wow. What am I most proud of? I'm most proud of me.
Yeah.
I'm just a great guy. No, I don't know. I got through the Cuba school and I graduated. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I won the Joe Kubert Jumpstart Award. I was the only one to win that.
You should be proud.
And you should be proud of creating the tagline. I'm just
a penciler.
Yes.
I'm proud of issue 1 so far and issue 2 of Silverline Team Up. That's going to be a banging book. So
It's looking
yeah.
great. It's looking excellent. Absolutely.
So yeah, that's it. I'm proud of everything I do.
Very good.
You should be.
Sorry, no kids, so can't use that one.
That he knows of.
I'm proud of the Christmas tree I put up.
Yeah.
Let's have Aaron. Aaron, how about yourself?
It's funny. I was gonna say,
Christmas tree.
my Godlings probably, but probably my 2 kids books that I made, the Miranda and the Roscoe one. I'm pretty proud of how they turned out. And I would
thought
say
you were going
Godlings,
to say the
but it's
2
not
kids I
done yet.
made.
Yeah, I did make them out of paper mache, but then they put them outside. They got rained on, and the kids died. So I guess it's one of those things it's not too proud of. But not to say my kids' books right now. My Godlings isn't done yet. We'll see how that. But yeah, my kids' books. Other than that, I'm trying to think of. Nope, that's it.
Done.
Roberta, how about yourself?
I guess it's hard to answer that because I always do things with people. I need to make my own things. I don't know. I would throw out, I'm very proud that I made some really fun lightning effects for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when I was in school. And
Awesome.
an internship in modern video film to work with Saban. And it was fun.
Yeah, I saw that
Really, really fun.
visual effect you made for that one picture Roland showed us. That was cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Fine. Thing.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, you do some cool stuff.
Randomly lucky, I guess.
But you have to have the skill, right? I mean, if you didn't have
Right.
the skill, it wouldn't
There
have
is
been
that.
the same story, right? So
I guess I kept up.
yeah. How about you, John?
I'm gonna say, well, I mean, I could, just be like,
Don't say kids. Don't say kids.
Barb and say that because I've got one in the Navy, but
You can
I
be
won't
proud of
do
more than one
that.
thing.
I won't do that because Peter is begging me not to.
Even though he slipped it in there.
Right.
It could just be
I
that
have
Peter
to
may not be proud of any of his kids.
Bunch of losers.
I have to say that I've been kind of writing something that I'm really, really proud of that nobody can know anything about yet, and I got to send a pitch of it to Roland.
Awesome.
Oh,
You're about to
Intriguing.
be really proud of something.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been so like it's like word vomit on paper. It's coming out so fast.
Yeah.
Like I've already got the first issue almost kind of planned out, and and I even know how the story arc ends already, and I haven't even named the first character. So I gotta write a pitch and send it to Roland.
Tim, how about yourself?
This is a very writerly answer. I'm not going to say Wolf Hunter because, as a comic book writer, I feel like John's going to put way more hours into that than I am.
I'm proud of the hour I spent on it.
Exactly. But my book I wrote a while ago called Molly, which is the first novel I've written. I completed 80,000 words. Never published and will probably never see the light of day, but it helped me understand my process as a writer and my own voice. And so that process that I'll probably never sell to anyone has influenced all my writing since.
Awesome.
Very good. That's an excellent.
And
excellent
Tim, you're
answer.
probably still gonna have me beat, so don't worry about it.
Well, for me, I mean, when I think about, as far as creating, I mean, of course, nothing's done in a vacuum. I always think about like relationships in terms of what I've had with people, my students, my colleagues, things like that. I value that the most because that's something that's I consider part of like the creative process. You're always trying to keep that going. So I would say that's probably for me. As far as like things I've accomplished, I'm very happy. I've had a lot of great opportunities professionally over the years. But whenever I think about like a moment that stands out for me, that was like something was just, because I'm so big into the martial arts and stuff like that, is the ability to acquire skill, and the ability to sacrifice for it. And specifically, there was one instance where when I was quite a bit younger, I used to be, we'd spar, we'd go at it at the studio, and I was, everybody's my size or smaller, so I could kind of handle myself. And one day, this big guy came in from out of town who was older and much more advanced, and he just wiped the floor with me. There's just nothing I could do. And I still remember my teacher always told me, of all things, he said I should do Tai Chi to get better at martial arts. He said I should learn how to use somebody's force against them. And I always thought, I don't want to do that old people stuff. That's boring. But after I got my ass kicked, I said, okay, maybe it's an idea. So it took 1 year. For 1 year, I did Tai Chi and focused on all these slow, soft movements. And a year passed, and I got paired up with the guy again, and everything kind of clicked, And my teacher, I'll never forget, my teacher would always read his newspaper. He'd be sitting at his desk reading his newspaper like he wasn't watching what was going on. And either he had a mirror somewhere that I didn't know, or he had a hole in the newspaper, but he would watch everything. And as we were going back and forth, me and the guy, I started using all these principles of using somebody's force against them and not going force on force, which is such a life lesson, right? It's kind of like if you're a smaller guy, like I'm not a big guy, you can't tackle or do something with somebody bigger than you. And that's so true in life. If there's something bigger than you, you just can't fight it. You have to learn how to go with it. And so when the whole thing ended, the guy was so flustered because he didn't understand how somebody so much smaller than him was beating him. So he threw a kick toward my midsection, like at full speed, like a knockout kick. And I looked at it, and there's no way I was going to block it. And I still remember I scooped up his foot with both hands, and then I split my hands over, and I knocked him into this couch, this old ratty couch in my teacher's studio. And the guy got up and kind of started sulking and walking away, and nobody was watching. And as the guy walked by my teacher pulled the newspaper down, looked at me, and he just did this. He just gave me the thumbs up, and then he went back to reading his newspaper. And I have to say, for me, that was like, the idea that I'm very proud of the fact that I learned the value of the lesson of you could give up an entire year for 3 minutes, and it would be so worth it, And so I'd say that's my my proudest moment.
Your proudest moment? You made
That's
somebody
cool.
cry, Curtis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's gonna be tears as long as it's not yours, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Those are tears of victory, man.
Exactly.
All right, guys, I gotta.
Okay.
Y'all take it
Now-
easy. I'm gonna cut
Alright.
out.
Bye, John.
All right, have a great holiday,
Alright.
John.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all too.
Merry
Y'all have a
Christmas.
good Christmas.
See you next year, okay?
All right.
All right.
All right, guys.
Mhm.
All right.
Bye,
Have a
John.
good one.
Yeah, mate.
Oh boy, next one's a good one. What's your worst habit? Wow, this seems brutal.
That's what
Wow.
my worst habit is right there.
What is it?
I crack my knuckles.
I crack your knuckles?
Mhm.
It's not that habit.
That's not too bad.
Constantly.
Oh, like
I should say I don't know as I hit the crack pipe online.
this
Like,
might be just this that I have.
caffeine.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
on the desk currently?
Oh, yeah.
I'm also a horrible grammar Nazi.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. As long as I'm okay. Grammar Nazi's okay if they do it to me in writing. Like if it's like if somebody says something, but when people start correcting me when I'm talking to them, yeah, no, no.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't. Yeah, I don't do that. But
Yeah, that because I've had people do that like in mid sentence correct me. And I'm like, well, obviously you're listening to what I'm saying, right?
although I have corrected people's pronunciations, and it's irritating.
It's Leviosa.
Leviosa. Irregardless.
I think probably I my baddest habit is as again I think up with Tim. I'm a big fan of Dr. Pepper, so I try to cut back, but that's my Achilles heel.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm perfect.
Nice.
Anybody else? I noticed everybody's a little reluctant on this one.
I know.
I was like, well,
Well, there's so many habits that you go, well, I don't know.
yeah.
Things that don't work for me, I'll put in there. I start too many things to remember all of them. So like I'll always have something drop that I didn't mean to drop because I'm trying to do too many little
Yeah.
things. So I wish
Strangely
I
enough, I
could
think that's a habit of a
focus,
lot of
like
artists.
start and stop
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
It's a bad habit. I'm thinking I can do a lot of it.
Yeah.
I'd
It's
say for
definitely
me-
hard. Yeah.
I'd say for me, like, I have a ton of bad habits. What will I say on air? I'll tell you this.
You should bring up a big
Yeah.
sheet of paper, start scanning
Exactly,
this
it's
huge list.
let me count the ways. But I'd say one of my biggest flaws, and of course, my wife is more than happy to point this out to me, as she does sometimes, is expectations. I have a tendency to get really excited and put expectations on something. Like I'll create something or I'll take on some endeavor, and then I start to build up in my mind, this is what's going to happen when I take this action, and then I get disappointed or frustrated when things don't go exactly how I wanted, and that's this ongoing battle of kind of managing my own expectations of other people, expectations of myself, expectations of how things are going to play out, and that's a big challenge of mine.
Do you get that way sometimes with like when like movies or games or certain parts of media come out and it's really pumped up and really promoting it? Do you always feel let down if it doesn't live up to your expectations?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of in a comic book note, kind of funny. I the Marvel movies. I have friends that like sometimes won't see movie trailers to close their eyes to say, I don't want to see it. I want to go in with no
Right. Oh, yeah.
expectations. So for Captain Marvel, I was like, okay, well, this movie's coming out. I'm not going to watch anything about it at all. I'm not going to watch the trailers. I'm not going to read any articles. And I saw the movie and I freaking hated it. And I was like, but I was so happy because afterwards I heard that there was all this issues with the actress and
Yeah.
politics and all that. And I can honestly say I did not like that movie because I thought it sucked, not because I had any issue with anybody's
It
seems like so many-
notion.
Yeah, so many movies get so political sometimes that people come in and as so many almost judge it on political basis instead of just straight up storytelling of what's actually presented in the movie, regardless of what people are doing behind the scenes. It
Mm.
almost kind of ruins it. Yeah, but there's been a few of them that have come out that I've talked about. The people were like, hey, I saw this movie. What'd you think of it? And all they were talking to me about the politics behind the movie, and I'm like, I'm talking about the movie itself, and they're like, that's irrelevant. I'm like, okay, apparently so.
Well,
Or actors conflicts. Well, so and so
Yeah.
didn't like the so and so.
Right.
Well, that, all right, you just prejudiced myself against certain people now,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because they're supposed to be like
absolutely.
best friends, and you find out in real life they hate each other. That's just
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think especially nowadays with social media, there's like, people are judged not necessarily by the product that they create, but by their political views or what have you. Now, if somebody's,
Mm.
like an absolute, crazy, psychopathic murderer, like, I don't care how great his comic book is, I'm going to take issue with that. But if it's a matter of opinion, that enjoy their art and let them decide for themselves what their politics are. But I do think sometimes people put themselves too much out there. I know, I think Kurt Russell said something recently to the effect of, basically, he more or less said he wishes more actors would just kind of just do their job and not
Yeah.
preach their political advice. He goes, because that's not why I see actors. I watch a movie to see the character this person plays, right?
right.
Mhm.
Not who they really are. That's irrelevant.
their
to
job
me.
is to entertain us, not to preach to us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So get to dancing and move fast. That's all I ask for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Sometimes it's it almost takes away some of the enjoyment a little bit of some of the movies I see when I see them, and then certain expectations or maybe certain things that I am or see that the movie doesn't agree with. I don't know. It just sometimes I can't sit and enjoy a movie because I'm just thinking like there's all this stuff wrapped up in it. So
definitely. Unless anybody wants to chime in about their personal faults, let's move on to the next question. What are you natural at? That's an interesting one. Okay. Anybody?
funny, my friends say I'm naturally full of it. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I agree. I think Peter's like would agree with that. He's like, I've known you long enough. Yeah. Man, that's a good
That's
question.
a tough one.
That is a tough one because you're thinking of like something you're natural at. You don't put actual like mental effort into it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm a natural sleeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose there's
There
that.
you go. Well, I'm gonna riff off of this and just phrase it this way. As creators, do you folks feel? What do you guys think about the word talented? I personally think people use the word talented when they mean skilled.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
how important do you think talent plays into things? Natural talent versus skill, which I feel is kind of more of something that's earned through
Well,
difficulty.
natural talent is something I do not have. I have had to teach myself every single thing. It does not come naturally to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same here. I mean, drawing. I think the only thing that may come naturally is I remember somebody asking me one time. They say, do you see things in 3D in your head? I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, can you take like a picture of a car and rotate the car completely around in your head and see it from all angles? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And he's like, that's rare. And I don't know if the ability, the way your brain thinks, could actually create that sort of talent they're talking about. Now, I still had to work hard and learn everything, but there could be a benefit. Like, I don't have a natural talent for numbers. My brain can't
Right.
handle numbers like other people. So I do think maybe natural talent is more in the way your brain is wired a little
Yeah.
bit. But I agree with Curtis that I think you can learn anything as long as you put your mind to it. But of course,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
people going to be easier than others.
I was thinking of talent more as like a form factor where it's just a multiplier on what you put in.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't matter how naturally skilled at something, if you don't put in time to train it, you're still going to fall behind someone who just put in time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the best example I have is within the powerlifting group that I train with, I am most talented at bench press because I have the genetics for it. My arms are shorter than what my wingspan should be, and I have a barrel chest, so I have less range of motion to fight the weight against. Versus another guy who has a wider core and wider hips, so he's better at squatting. So
Yeah.
at the same amount of time we put into training my bench press and his squat's going to exceed mine, and my bench is going to exceed his. We still have to put time in general in order to make that number grow.
Right. You still have to put the effort in, but there's a
Yeah.
natural advantage
Yeah.
the way you're built and he's built. And I think there is. Now, of course, would you consider that talent? That's an
Right.
interesting
That's that.
idea.
That's like, well, that's the idea of like, being a gifted athlete. Well, you just had the right genetic makeup. But I think also,
Exactly.
uh, not to get too Metal Gear Solid, but Curtis and I could probably do it forever. But the idea of genetic memory, the idea that what your
Yeah.
parents or ancestors at some point just worked its way into your genes. So
Yeah.
it's very possible that someone can be born and they're a little more artsy than another person in the same town because of their makeup. So they train that faster than other people would.
Yeah, I mean, even in most families where there's artists, people can look with the other members in your family that are artists, and usually, yes, are people who are adaptive. So I do think there's some genetic, but yeah, it's. But then again, I've seen people who I think are talented, like you said, who don't practice. I
Yeah.
had a friend in high school that we thought was like the greatest, and then he came back recently, started drawing comics again, and we feel he's gone backwards because he didn't keep up on that specific skill set. So yeah.
Yeah. This year my bench has regressed tremendously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like and I Roland teaches he teaches comic book storytelling and writing, and I teach martial arts, and sometimes we compare notes as teachers, and we both have this common agreement regardless of the subject matter, which is usually whenever we've had students that are talented, they are the ones that actually end up being the worst students or the least successful, because they don't value it when the skill comes to when the ability comes to them without having to sacrifice. They lose interest, and it's usually the student that maybe has some aptitude but just needs to be kind of polished. Those are the ones that value that process. I think Einstein said, like, the world's full of talented, unmotivated individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when you find the talented, motivated individuals, they're just, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you, as a teacher, right? That's what you're looking
So
for, is the
inspiring.
one that has the natural talent and then has the aptitude, and it's like,
I think that the only real natural talent that exists in the world is when you find the rare savant.
Yeah.
That's
Somebody.
talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And then I think, like anything, I always feel like there's a give and take, right? Like you're talking about savants. Usually there's some cost that comes with that level of ability, and it's there's no free rides, right?
Yeah.
And if there's any truth, there's no free rides. So, cool. Well, let's check out the next one, and then maybe after the next one, I think if we have a Wayne Hall indie comic book review,
I believe we
take
do.
a little pause. All right, let's do one more. Let's do one more question, folks, and then we'll hop on over to that. Oh boy, this is a good one. I love this. This might be the rest of the show. For me, what's something you wish you figured out sooner?
Oh, that's easy.
All right, Peter's first.
Yeah, Peter. Go for it.
I wish I'd figured out that I should just follow my dream much younger. I spent 10 years doing something I hated. Before I figured out that forget it, just go and draw comics.
But
I'm a lot poorer now. Don't get me wrong, I've got no money, but I'm happy. I get up and I'm happy. I get to draw every day. It's cool.
Yeah.
But that's I had a similar instance once where I had a classmate, and he talked to my teacher, and he goes, if I had studied with you when I was younger. He started martial arts when he was like in his late 30s, early 40s, and he goes, if I had started with you when I was younger, how much time I would be, how great I would have been, And my teacher, being the wise man is, he kind of chuckled. He goes, you don't get it. He goes, it's fate. He goes, you were supposed to be there at that moment, and you were ready to receive that message at that moment. And it couldn't have been done any other way, right? I mean, for you to realize that was your passion, you had to go through those 10 years of, maybe not the best time, so you could be right here, right now. And I think I can speak for everybody. I mean, you are a damn good artist, Peter. I mean, if you feel you lost any time, you more than made up for it. I mean, you are a solid dude when it comes to art. So
he's okay.
Oh, come on.
Kidding. Just kidding. He's good. I know.
No, but seriously, I mean, I think everything.
Yeah, that comes back to our previous question. So I've always been arty, but you don't get anywhere without putting the work in. And I've had to last 5 years. I've really had to graft to catch up.
That's the hardest thing I try to instill to every young artist who tries to ask me about art, and you've probably gotten this too, Peter, is how do you get better? And you're like, work.
Yeah,
And
no
they don't want to
shortcuts.
hear it. And
I
I
don't
just
like that.
I just don't know what else to say to you. There's no
Yeah.
trick.
You ever get people wanting like actual timelines? Like people will come into a martial arts student and be like, "So when do I get to be a master? Like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?" And my answer is always, "I don't know. You tell me. I don't know how naturally talented you are. I don't know how
Yeah.
hard you're gonna work. I don't know if you're gonna give up halfway through. I don't have the answers. You should be telling me how long it's gonna take you, right?" But
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look at some of the artists. I mean, I know like when you listen to interviews of Frank Miller, I mean, he's, what he brought to the comics community, but he struggled with art most of his life. I mean, he really struggled with a lot of the principles, but just working hard and doing what he did, he made it, you know? So
and he found his voice, right? I mean,
he
like
did.
Frank Miller is the best at doing Frank Miller. I mean,
He is, yeah.
it sounds kind of redundant, but it's totally
It's-
true,
yeah.
right? Anybody else? What's something you wish you'd figured out sooner?
I wish I'd figured out that you need to set a time aside to have your own voice for yourself and quiet and not just try to tackle everything that you think needs to happen,
Mhm.
but be quiet with yourself. I'm doing a lot more of that, probably because of the COVID situation. But
When you say quiet with yourself, do you mean like at peace or at balance? What can you elaborate?
yeah, trying to shut out just thoughts and enjoying the art instead of saying I'm gonna finish this much and I'm gonna do this, but just enjoying the process of it so that you're there with it.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and it shows in the art, right?
Mhm.
When you're just enjoying it, there it is, right? It shows up on the page. So
Yeah,
yeah,
makes a
excellent.
big difference, and it's still putting in the work, but there's just something more healing about it, and I wish I'd done more of that earlier
Mhm.
instead of treating it like, okay, well, I got to get this done and this done and this done stages. And I feel like it was a mechanical approach that worked, but it didn't help my soul at all. So, so that's where I'm at.
I'm kind of the opposite of Roberta, where I should learn that I need to schedule everything. That I'm a very structured person, so when I do sit down to write, I just like, okay, this I'm going to write this scene, then I'm going to write this scene and break it up into this chapter, and then write this scene. And I just need to set up that timeline so I actually sit down and do it. Because I'm the type of person where if I don't schedule something, I may not do it. So I'm the opposite of Roberta in that I need to schedule to do it.
Just as hard to do, though.
Yeah. And again, everyone's brain works a little differently. Everyone has different natural gifts, and sometimes your brain will want you to do something one way as opposed to the other.
All right. What I would have wished I would have learned earlier. Well, I'm in my 6th decade, and I can tell you that I wish I had known not to sweat the small stuff back when I was younger, because everything was a crisis when I was in my 20s or my teens or my 30s. Everything was just drama. Every little thing just, upset me, and I was majorly depressed, and everything was so chaotic and emotional. And I've mellowed so much over the years, and I've learned that just don't sweat the small stuff. So this one person doesn't like you. What in the grand scheme of your life is that going to change? How much difference is that going to really make in your life? So you didn't meet this deadline. Is that really going to be a major factor for the rest of your life? It's just, I've learned to just enjoy the big picture and not sweat the small stuff. I mean, it's not worth it. It's not worth the energy. It's not worth the stress. It's not worth the chaos that it brings into your life. Just don't sweat the small stuff. And everybody is going to. You have to reach that point in your life. That's only through living life and life experiences that you eventually come to realize that, why was I so upset with this, and why was I so focused on this in my 20s? That was nothing. So
I think
and
mine
it takes
is
a lot of strength to do that, you know, like even
yeah.
sometimes you may not, you have people that it's like the end of the world for them. And, you know, but when you have the bigger picture, you realize it's not that big a deal. It's like,
Mhm.
what was that saying? Failure to plan on your part doesn't mean an emergency on mine.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
So you're the bridal shower that you threw for your best friend didn't go off as planned. 5 years down the road, who's going to remember that?
No.
But at the
Yes.
time, you're just crushed. Oh my God, it's the end of the world.
Yep.
No, nobody's going to remember 5 years from now.
She calls that 5 years from now. Remember that bridal shower? Hate you. Click.
That's the thing where you wake up like middle of the night 5 years later, like, wait, what?
I know. I think mine was probably along the lines of Barbara, but not learning. I guess back now, I guess like I don't really sweat the small stuff when it comes to my drawing. I don't nitpick it as much. I've learned how to draw what I draw, and if there's imperfections, I just let it go, move on. In other words, I've learned how to look at the bigger picture, and I guess maybe doing a 300-page book has taught me that, because if you nitpick everything in a 300-page book, you will never finish it. So learning how to look at the project as a whole and let the little stuff go. I mean, there's actually mistakes I've made in my book that I kept in there. I'm like, if somebody finds it, hats off to you. I can't cover everything. So yeah, there's one guy that has 3 fingers and I just realized in one of the covers I gave him 4, and I'm like, oh well, somebody will figure that out.
Let it
Let it go.
Let it go.
It was strangely enough, that was actually I was watching the documentary on Die Hard, and they're talking to John McTiernan, who directed it. And apparently at the beginning they show, they wrote that movie, kind of changed that movie in the fly. So they show all the terrorists come out of the back of this truck at the beginning of the movie. And at the very end of the movie, they show an ambulance drive out of that same truck. And so they came to John, they're like, well, do you think we may need to refilm the beginning, because when they open the truck, there's no ambulance in there, and at the end there's an ambulance in the truck, so is that gonna, he's like, I do not care. Like, okay, done. He's like, you will figure it out on your own. I'm like, that's that kind of like, okay, I like that attitude.
Well, that's kind of like the Stanley No Prize, right? That was
Yeah.
genius, right? When the fan writes in and, on page 4, he had this on his right shoulder, and on page 5, he had on this. Well, congratulations, you got the No Prize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I guess one of the things, I wish I'd figured out sooner, and I guess some of that's youth, is I thought I figured it out, but I really didn't figure it out, which is really being aware of, you don't have to keep certain people around you if they're not a positive influence, if they're not a positive part of your life, if they're not there for your goals, And as an artist and other artists, I wish I wouldn't have given away so much of my art on so many projects for so many people that wanted this. I helped so many people realize their dream.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to work on my own comic book now. And I had one guy a couple years back, a friend of a friend, wanted me to do some art for a role-playing game, a tabletop role-playing game. And so I said, okay, as a friend, I'll write the guy back. And the guy goes, well, we want you to try out. And I said, and it was the first time I've ever said this to the guy. I said, having worked on Lord of the Rings video games and X-Men video games, I think I've kind of proven myself. I said, either you want my work or you don't. He says, well, this is a great opportunity for you. I said, it costs me less to do nothing. It literally costs me less to do nothing for you than to do anything for you for free. I said, I'll give you some samples if you pay me. I said, but I, I don't do that anymore. And I wish I figured it out sooner. And to any artist out there, whenever you hear that, just buyer beware. Whenever you hear somebody say it'll be great for your portfolio, you can do your own great. You can do your own great work for your own damn portfolio. Okay, you don't need to do work for your portfolio so that somebody else benefits it. But that's just my 2 cents.
Well,
it's great exposure.
Yeah.
That's another one.
For any writer attempting to contact their artist friends, in your opening message, put in either here's my budget or here's the percentage you'll get of our pre-sale.
Yeah. Or all your friends who go like, dude, if you're part of this project, we're gonna make millions. That's always my favorite.
Yes, but what's my percentage of that million?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, the Zoom died for me. It should be back here a second. Zoom is almost back. The software is great.
Yeah.
Okay. Zoom just died. Came back.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, mine's been kind of like coming in and out a little bit here and there. So
yeah, it's Occasionally, what happens is we'll just get an unstable connection on the. It's not anything here because all the streaming bandwidth works fine. It's literally just the Zoom stops taking any resources and freezes.
The Russians back.
They are. We know they're
Yes.
focusing in our stream. They're waiting for
Specifically, yes.
this.
The pinnacle of Western democracy in Silverline.
Yeah.
Quentin, CubeTube on the YouTube. He says, "Don't get hung up on trying to figure out why people do the things they do or think the things they think."
Drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Drive me crazy.
Yeah, that's a great point. Excellent point.
You don't have the energy.
I kept trying to figure out why Curtis thinks the way he does long time ago.
Oh, Aaron, if you knew the things that go on my head on a daily basis, you would be
That's
petrified.
just the editing.
I know. I'd be huddled in the corner in fetal position, crying softly.
Well, on that cheery note, let's go to that Wayne Hall indie comic book review, and we'll be right back.
Of course.
Hi, this is Wayne Hall back again with an indie comic you can order through your local shop, or at least you can order someplace, I think. And this week I'm going to talk about a book that's a little older, but it's significant to me because it has a name associated with it now that I think you would recognize, and that is this book. It's called Code Breakers. And the name that you would recognize is the guy that's now in charge of Boom Studios, a guy by the name of Ross Ritchie. That guy right there. He's the creator of this story, the tale that's going on. It's written by Kerry Malloy. Artist is Scott Godlewski. Coloring is by Stephen Downer. This was done back in 2010, so it's a little older of a book. And as such, the technology might seem a little different than it is today, 10 years later. But it's a really gripping story. Let me read the back of it to you. It's called Crack the Code, Ciphers, Codes, Encryption, Passwords. They are the elite cryptanalysis unit of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, responsible for protecting America from those who wish to do it harm. Led by Donald Foster, they are the best of the best at getting to the truth and protecting information that could shatter the world. But what happens when one of their own goes missing? Is it the one code these code breakers can't crack? In the thrilling genre of blockbusters like The Da Vinci Code and The Bourne Supremacy comes an action-packed espionage comic that will leave you asking for more. And that's the truth, I have to say. When this first came out, I was living in the Washington, D.C. area, and I was buying a lot of Boom Studios stuff at that point. I still do. There's a lot of good stuff that comes out from Boom Studios. And this book I was buying, and I got the first 3 issues. And as often happens to me, the store that I got the first 3 issues did not buy the 4th. I wish I could tell you how many times that's happened to me. But what happened was, of course, then I was desperate to get the conclusion because I really enjoyed the story. And I literally called every store I could in the greater Washington, D.C. area. Now, I lived in Maryland. I finally found a store in Virginia that had 1 copy of it. I begged them to hold on to it for me, and I took a day off from work so I could drive in the middle of the day when the traffic is the best, and I drove down to Virginia, and I got the 4th issue, and I was so grateful. I bought the collected edition, and you know, Boom for a long time was putting out these little smaller copies of it. You know, the collected edition was a lot smaller, so I was doing that, and I keep this because it's a really significant book to me. Now, what's happening in this story is there's a code that nobody seems to be able to break. And there's a guy by the name of Stanley who's part of this group. And he is tasked with trying to break into that code. And as he's apparently just about to get it, suddenly the agency gets a picture that looks like it's this Stanley, and he's on a bridge. And the next thing you see is he's apparently jumped off. Now, of course, I say the word apparently, and that tells you something. There's things going on with this. Now, normally I'm an action-adventure type of guy. I want lots of punching and kicking and running and jumping and things like that. This is not that way of a story. There's a lot more suspense. And I like suspense in my stories. I like mystery. I like to wonder what's really going on. I like things that tell me that make me go down one way and then come back another. And this book really excels at that. It's going to lead you down the primrose path, and it's going to take you in an entirely different direction just when you think you've got it all figured out. I like that in a story. I like a story that outwits me, that makes me think it's going a certain direction, and it doesn't. And that's what this one here. Now, saying that, you might read this book and you might say, oh, well, if I think it's going to go this way, then it won't. But it's written so well that I think you're going to have to pay attention. But you might think you know what's going to happen. I didn't, at least. And I like that in a series that is particularly smart. And, you know, I so many comics I can go through in 5 minutes. This is not one of those. You're going to need to pay attention to it. Now, it's available on Comixology. If your store can't order it, it's through Boom. And these days, Boom seems to be pretty accessible. You can also order it on Amazon. So if your local store for some reason can't order it, and I still puzzle over exactly what's going on now with the pandemic going on. But this book I highly recommend. Even though the technology may seem a little outdated, it's still a very, very strong book. It's still something that's going to get you to wonder what's happening. Can you trust your senses? Can you trust your idea as to how things are going to work? I couldn't. So as such, it's a very brilliant script. I would love to see this be a movie. I've seen a lot of suspense stories that are kind of similar to it. Code breaking can be a little dull in comparison to, like, they mentioned the Bourne Supremacy, where there's lots and lots of action and punching and jumping and cars crashing into each other and stuff like that. You don't get a lot of that in here. Now, you do get some. Like with this one here, there's a fire going on at one point, and there's one of the code breakers is stuck in there. And so there's all kinds of things going on with that. I like that kind of stuff. I like drama as opposed to a lot of destruction and things like that. Now, of course, a fire, there's going to be some destruction, but it's a really suspenseful story, one of the best that I've read. It's the thing that got me turned into these kinds of things. I really loved the way that it ledger domain and, you know, what's going on with that. I thought it was going to be terribly dull. I just bought a lot of Boom stuff at that time, but it's not dull. It's going to keep you on the edge of your seat. So, granted, yes, 10 years ago this was coming out, but I think you're going to learn a lot about code breaking and things like that as a result of it. So, let's get to the grading. The writing, I would give this a solid A to A+. It really is gripping in the way that it does. And like I said, it makes you think you know what's going on, and then you don't. So anything that can surprise me along those lines, I truly adore. And this is one of those main books. Like I said, I drove hours to try to find this book, the conclusion of it. The art, I would say, I would give this a good B. There's not a lot of super action stuff going on. There is suspense. You can see she's terrified right there. There's things happening that look good on there. It's a good artwork. It's not spectacular, so I would give it a good B. So it's strong, so I would give it that, but it's not dynamic in the pure sense of the word. Lettering, I'm always tough on, and again, there's a couple places where some stuff covers over things that I don't think it should. But I would give it a C, because I think the lettering's pretty good. Literary merit. Even though the 10 years have passed, because I reread it, and yes, the technology is a little older than what we know now, but it's still a very good story that I think we can still relate to where the technology is. It's not as advanced as it is right now, you know, but I think we can relate to where it was at that point, and I think we can understand it. So literary merit, I would still give it a good A, because it's something that even now, 10 years later, it still works really well. Fun factor, I never like books with a lot of fun in them. Once in a while I do, but this one does not have a lot of fun in it. There's a little dark humor, very little. If you're looking for fun, not this book. It's a D as far as fun factor goes. Overall grade, I'd still give this book a good solid A-, because I think it's it's the kind of a book that can change your perspective on how these kinds of stories are told. Like I said, it could be dull. It's not. It's very, very smartly written. The characters are interesting. What happens to them kept my attention. And I just think that this is one of those books that can really surprise you on how gripping it is. So Codebreaker's a good A-. I would say if you like spy stuff, if you enjoy this kind of stuff, I highly recommend it for you, particularly if you haven't read it before. And until next time, keep reading your comics.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Silver Sunday, hosted by Curtis Fujita.
Nice. I felt like that was kind of a Masterpiece Theater rendition of my introduction.
It's, once we hit that certain point in the night, we have to tone it down.
Yeah, I like it. It's very reserved. So let's get back. Thank you, Wayne Hall, for another excellent independent comic book review. And let's resume with our random questions. So the next question that showed up here is, if you lost all your possessions but one, what would you want it to be?
That's almost a variation of like if you're on a desert island, what would you take with you?
A boat.
Sort of thing.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's probably one of my bases, probably this one. He's like,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you keep your clothes in this? I'm just thinking, like, should it be default? Should it be my clothes? So I'm not arrested by the cops on the street.
I see. Yeah, that's if I don't lose my clothes, I just keep my base, and I just go up to like freaking Venice Beach or whatever, and I'm set.
Yeah, there you go.
Just naked busking.
Only my iPad,
iPad?
because not only were all of my books on there, but music, my art, talk to my friends, all my, I can get a hold of people, I can write, just basically everything is on my iPad. So
I'm actually looking around and thinking about that.
I
Probably
think I'd like
strangely
my
enough,
glasses just to make sure that I can see everything.
That's really practical.
Oh yeah.
Probably my
Does my dog count as possession? Because I just have to take the dog. I'm assuming knowing my dog, he'd left us long behind anyway.
Yeah.
he'd legged it, but yeah, dog.
that's assuming that your dog is a possession.
Well, that's what I mean. Does that count?
Yeah.
If not,
Semantics.
I mean,
If
you
not,
probably pay an adoption fee in tax, so
Yeah.
I actually had a really good experience with this. I just spent like 10 to 11 weeks away from home, and I took clothes with me and my iPad, and I had everything I needed.
Yeah.
Basically, I could still do my art. I still, I still had access to reading and music and everything like that. I had everything all in this one tiny little thing. Yeah.
She picks it up and explodes. Well,
Yeah. Photos, all my photos are on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's everything.
I'd probably just say my backup hard drive with all my art. In case I'm thinking my computer died.
Okay.
That would be there. But I guess, could you say computer, even though it's multiple pieces? I mean, would you? I mean, if it's one thing, like if you say your computer, it's like, well, yeah, but is it just the tower, the monitor, which piece?
right.
So I'm breaking that down. It'd be just the hard drive because that's where everything's backed up.
There you go. What about you, Roberta? Do you have any thoughts on the matter?
Well, it's kind of hard now that everyone's thrown their tech into it.
Yeah.
I like my laptop, thanks.
For me, it would be like my wife loves like survival wilderness shows. So if it was like that kind of scenario, then definitely have like this survival K-bar knife with a hollow
Right.
handle where you can put all the flint. So if it's like we're being that realistic, it would probably be that.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
well, that's helpful.
Oh, if we're going out in the wilderness, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I think
I've got
Take
images.
that.
one of my
I've got
knives.
images
Yeah,
of me walking around the wilderness with a long box of comics, just
Yeah.
dragging them along.
Yeah.
Dragging them along. Come on. These are
Yeah,
the
that
ones.
was kind of. I mean, if you said like what you could take to the Arctic, I mean, it would be a blanket.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta. You didn't specify it.
I was assuming like
requirement.
didn't pay the bills and they repossessed literally everything. They're like, okay, get one thing.
Yeah.
I have a Swiss Army knife with like 57 functions on it. I'd take that.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Well, there you go. Let's hop on to the next question. Oh, we went back to unpopular opinion. It really wants us to do that one. Ew,
I
this
think
was-
because it
well, I mean,
generates discussion.
this one's. I mean, at first I thought it was kind of weird, but let's run with it. What's one of your favorite smells?
Mm.
Oh,
Okay.
Tarmac. Freshly laid
Tarmac.
tarmac. Yeah.
Really? Now
Yeah.
that would
Wow,
that
that's-
is.
Really?
I'd
And
have probably
fire.
had,
It's respectable.
Fire smells so good.
Yeah.
yeah, especially wood fire out in the like
Yeah.
out in the forest and yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have
Fresh
to
cut
say
hay
Hey, yes.
or
yes.
grass. I'm
Yeah.
a farm girl, so fresh
Probably
cut
the,
hay.
Summer cut, summer. Yeah.
after it rains, but that just could be Pacific Northwest
Mhm.
crap
Yep.
up here. I think Peter could probably. It rains a lot in England, so he could probably
Yeah, it's nice.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fresh, clean. That's what it smells like anyway.
How about you, Roberta?
well, there are these art pens that my dad had from Art Center that there's like a little metal ball inside it, and he shook it up, and I have no idea what the fumes were, but they were so, they were just like
Good man.
every time I ever used them, it was like I just loved that smell so much.
So is that what you've been sniffing on air when nobody's paying
No.
attention? She's all like,
Probably it affected me later, but
Also,
no,
like
yeah, art supplies. There's a lot of things that were occasionally like, when I was younger, these things were legal. Now they're not for
yeah.
obvious reasons.
Did
So
you
what I
guys?
was exposed to as a child, those smells were
Yeah.
they just make me think of being creative. So there's just something really extra about it.
They did the scratch and sniffs and the smelly pins. Do they still make the smelly pins? What smell
They
like
do,
lemon
they
and
do
root
still
beer?
have
Yeah.
those.
Yeah. What about
also
you,
like
Tim?
fresh
That's
turned dirt.
Yeah, like
Oh yeah.
like evergreens on like an alpine wind. Like you've ever been like
Very
You
Yeah.
are my opposite.
so yeah, up here in Oregon we have Mount Hood, which is my favorite place on earth. But like if you get there on like a day when it's crisp and clear and there's like no rain, nothing, just get like the brisk wind coming through and picks up the trees. That's yeah.
Yeah.
There's like a vanilla scent that's in the trees that we have here. Like you might know that, Curtis, around like Thousand Oaks area.
Yeah.
When you walk in that area, there's just something really special about that smell. It's really
Definitely.
I
Definitely.
just like the fact that she has a specific pin smell. That's pretty good. Maybe take Roberta down the glue aisle. That glue smells
That's what I'm
the
saying.
best.
Glue.
but I didn't go there. I didn't have any glue. Let's see. Yeah,
For me,
rubber
it's-
cement. That's about it.
That's about it. Yeah.
For me, it would be. I would say, because I'm from Hawaii originally, it's definitely like the smell of the ocean,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
the spray and the salt and the air and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like invigorating to me. That's always a big thing. The really cool answer would be like, I love the smell on fear and somebody when I'm about to do
The
it.
smell of fear.
If I wanted to be cool, right? But I'm not cool, so that's not my answer.
I know.
Well, that was interesting. Let's see what the next one is. Oh, this is a pretty straightforward one. All right, pancakes or waffles?
I think it's waffles because all the syrup falls
Goes
into the
inside.
little crevices, and I don't know, it stays on there.
It's
so,
aesthetic.
yeah. It is.
I'd say I'm
Pancakes,
on
because I
team
can
waffle.
put things in it.
Pancake. Okay. There you
Oh
go.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Very American
Waffles.
question, isn't it? Pancakes, I guess. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Waffles. Because I like the crisp. It's more of a crisp surface on the waffles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pancake soaks up too much syrup, and then it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would,
I feel
what would
sick
be
later.
a British equivalent, Peter, or is there
Like
something
crepes?
We have pancakes. Yeah, we have waffles, but not the same way you guys have waffles. You have waffles with literally anything. So Yeah,
Yeah.
pancakes, I guess. They're easy to make as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, pancakes are very easy to throw protein into. So that's what I've been
Yeah.
doing for like the past 3 years.
Out here in LA, we have a very famous place called Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I went there once with my friend Tim. He's an animation director, but we were dressed as Street Fighter characters. We were at a Halloween party,
Yeah.
by the way. That's why we were dressed that way. And so I was this guy named Charlie. He was Guile, so he's this Thai Chinese guy, but he had this apparatus on his head, this fake blonde wig that went out like this.
Yeah.
And we went into Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles in this kind of little bit rougher neighborhood at like 1 a.m. And it was awesome because everybody there was just screaming at him. They were using a certain expletive that's used for a certain group of people that they can say to each other, but not other people should say to them. And they kept calling him. They kept yelling at him that, and he was very happy. And it was the best chicken and waffles we've ever had.
Yeah.
Never had chicken and waffles. I should try. What is it?
I had it when I
what
was
is the
in America,
magic
yeah.
combination
Good.
That
of
just
chicken
sounds
and waffles?
horrible to me.
Yeah.
Chicken and waffles.
It's so good. It's
Really? Okay.
because it's you typically get in most circumstances it would be plated together, but you would eat it separately to have chicken with white gravy and then ruffle syrup. So you get the sweet and the savory go between the two. Sometimes they do stack them, but there's a place actually here in Salem called Sherry's, which I believe is an Oregon chain. It might go up into Washington. I'm not sure, but it's about your the same as your small chain Denny's type thing, but they also have chicken and
Yeah.
waffles there. So
Do they have them at Sherry's?
yeah. So our go-to
Didn't
thing
know
was that
that.
we'd go to a venue in Portland, and then on the way back down at like 2 a.m, we get coffee and chicken and waffles.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it is, but
It's real good.
definitely is. Yeah, it's really good. Oh, here's the good one. Oh, what is your theme song?
I was just thinking for somebody that just think Curtis.
Fat Bottom Girls.
What?
Which one?
Uptown Girls?
Fat Bottom Girls.
Fat Bottom Girl. Everybody has a Queen song as a theme song.
That's awesome.
Question.
No,
Nobody
actually, I
has
don't
this?
know if I do.
Do you have a song that plays in
me-
your head when you wake up or when you're doing?
Now it's Mandalorian. It won't stop.
Yeah.
It is.
It's the Mandalorian.
God, that was such a good season, right?
It's so
I
good.
mean, no spoilers, but it was so good.
No spoilers.
it
I've
was.
seen the last one.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
We'll talk
There's
later.
people in my
Oh.
household that are still catching up. So
I'll just say it's good. Spoiler, it's really good.
yeah, good.
You've
Yeah,
done
don't
well
like
to
it.
avoid the spoilers
Don't
because it's
spoil it
tough.
for me.
Let me
Episode.
make sure I get the name of this right.
Aaron, what about you?
I'm looking at the song
looking?
Ashes of the Dawn, which is by a band named Dragon Force. That's probably my theme song.
Okay.
I like that. And I'm in a band named Dragon Force. I mean, why wouldn't that represent me in some form? For some reason, now that Curtis brought up his last story, I just hear the Street Fighter theme song for Curtis.
Yeah,
Yes.
Well, there's what I want to be my theme song, and then what's actually my theme song. So what
He actually has.
yeah. So what I want to have my theme song is there's this one of my favorite martial arts movies called Once Upon a Time in China, and it has this song that goes back. It's like this movie series. There's over 108 movies or something like that, and many people have interpreted this character. And this song is called Under the General's Orders, and it's this traditional kung fu song, and it has all these great lyrics like, my fists are as strong as steel, my heart, my gaze goes out towards the sun and pierces the sun, and my blood boils hotter than the sun. It's really cool, right? So that's what I want to envision myself as. But I found this on my phone. This is what my actual song usually is in life, which is, wait, hold on, turn up. And that's kind of the story of my life. I go into it thinking of, we talked about expectations. I want it to be that song, but it's the sad trombone song usually.
That's good. How about you, Peter?
Yeah, Pete.
I don't know. I don't listen to too much music, so nothing plays in my head unless it's like literally the last song I listen to on the radio. I get out of the car.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm sure someone can think of someone who knows me probably can think of one, but
I have songs that I associate with other people, but not really with myself.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I just realized that as a streamer, I literally have a theme song that plays when I start my stream,
Oh, nice.
which Rebuild by Jared Dines, which is very niche.
Jared Dines.
Yeah.
What type of music is it?
It's metalcore, so metal but more melodic, with extreme vocals over it.
Nice.
Oh,
A lot
right.
of that is like power metal or symphonic metal is a lot like that.
Yeah, it's kind of take the structure from metal, then with like the same kind of progressions you'd find in symphonic metal, and then you put vocals like you'd find in death metal. So that creates metalcore, that kind of combination of everything.
Yeah. Have you guys ever
Right.
heard metal when they do like opera singers? I mean, there's metal where they sing like opera songs, so it's
Yep.
pretty trippy.
Yeah. There's a like a subgenre of progressive metal that uses a lot of symphonic vocals or like that. Caligula's Horse is really good.
Yeah.
And this is under your aggro bacon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's such a great name.
A great
I love that name.
title.
It's awesome. Well, let's go on to the next question. Okay, what was the best compliment you ever received?
I think the fact that my friend Summer, for the last few years, I've been trying to get her to say something nice about me, to the point it's like a running joke. So if she owes me money or anything, I'm like, you don't need to pay me money, just pay me a compliment, and she will never. So the day I get her to say something nice about me will be the best compliment I've ever had, and it will happen. And I will record that day. I mean, last time I even said, well, she was owe me like a few, like 100, something for a gift, help pay for a gift. Like, why don't you just write me something nice about me and put it in paper and verify it and date it? She's like, no. It's like, fine, whatever. So that day will be the best compliment. But beyond that, it's really hard to think, because I don't know. I'd have to really stop and think about that.
Okay.
The one that
Curtis is like, well, no one's ever said anything nice about you, so that would be Aaron.
It could either be one of the two, right? You know, getting compliments, or you just get this overabundance of compliments, right? I'd like to think it's the latter, but
the one that's sticking with me the most is after I started lifting, we were driving over to the town of St. Helens one day for the Halloween Town event they put on, and I was in the front, one of my friends behind me, and he reaches around, try to, as guys do, to try and like crank each other, and just grab my chest, grab my pecs, and then he actually stopped. He's like, "Whoa, like damn, Tim! I knew he started. You got big, but like damn."
Your friend was nice enough to give you I'm not going to finish that sentence, but
yeah. You go for the purple nurple, and then you stop because he's like, "Wow."
Yeah. Anybody else? I'm sure you guys, other folks must have gotten tons of compliments about other things. What?
People get compliments when they compliment on your artwork when they get conventions and stuff, which is always nice.
Sure.
Never get tired of hearing that someone likes your artwork.
Yeah.
Oh shucks, it's been you guys these days.
Yeah,
I think. Go ahead.
When I was younger, I got a lot of compliments on my looks, and when I got older, I got a lot of compliments on my art. So I don't know. Probably the nicest compliment I've ever gotten was one of my kids said I was the best mom.
There you go.
Because usually kids hate you. Oh, Mom.
Well, there's what they say and what they mean, right? Two different things.
It took them to after they grew up before they would admit that. Of course. They'd been out of the house for several years.
And also, it's context of when they said it. I mean, if they said it while they're eating ice cream, well,
yeah,
we're opening presents, right? I'd have to say, strangely enough, my other thing is I get a lot of compliments on my hair from hairdressers. I don't know why. I think they keep complimenting that I have hair, which I'm like, what is this? Am I not supposed to have hair? It's just like, they always like, you have so much hair, you're never going to lose your hair. I'm like, I guess that's a good compliment. I didn't know this was like every guy was expected to lose their hair at one time or another, but I get this all the time. I'm like, okay, people like my hair.
Male pattern baldness is supposed to start in by the time you're 30, so.
I know, so they're just like, you've beaten the odds, I guess, right?
Roberta, what about you?
I didn't. Well, it was a great compliment that the kid that I live with, he stole my cat and mouse card and he won't give it back because he loves it so much because it's cute because antique.
Nice.
That's
That's
cool.
great.
That's
That's
a
great.
compliment.
Strange enough, now that reminds me, I do have one other one. Okay, I will say this. That why is this such a stupid question I keep going back to? I did have a kid online that actually dressed up as a character for my children's book. I don't know this kid at all. But he posted a picture of himself dressed up as the character from my first kid's book and went to school, and I'm like,
That's awesome.
that
That's
was an
cool.
awesome compliment.
It's
That was
Yes,
really
it
Yeah.
is.
awesome. I mean, it's one thing to even think about something like that, but then to actually go through and make the effort, that means they really
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was
really
like, wow, okay, yeah, that
you
was
know?
I've got a tangential compliment, which I
Okay.
can mention. I think it's kind of fun. The story that I took a trip once to the UK, and I was in a little pub, and I saw on the ceiling a poster that was in the magazine that I had published maybe half a year before that, and somebody
awesome.
had ripped out the centerfold and put it up there,
That's
That's
cool.
cool.
and I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
wow, it made me really humble to think somebody did that.
Went out of the
And
way.
that-
Yeah,
Because
that
I
is
chose that model, I photo retouched everything about the background, and it's like it was artistic,
that's
So the
pretty
fact
cool
that it
though.
reached other people made me
Yeah.
really.
Absolutely. Well, for me, I know a lot of nice people, so they've been very generous with me. But I would say the two that really stand out is one, as corny as it sounds like, my, she's very indecisive when it comes to a lot of things, like what she's going to order to eat, what movie we're going to see, all these things. But she pretty early on liked me and wanted to marry me, and so I always think that's funny how she's indecisive on everything else, but for some reason she was, and she dated Bill Paxton. So I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
that's even cooler, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so
You beat Hudson from Aliens?
Yeah.
What
totally game over, man. So yeah,
Game
I mean,
over.
so, but I mean, I'd say that's a big compliment because yeah, she's quite indecisive. The other one is always going back to martial arts because it's such an important part of my life. I studied under my teacher for over 25 years now, and I was living in San Francisco when I was studying under him, and he would never give me a compliment. He was really harsh on me. Sometimes I would be training, he would just walk up and say, "You look really lousy today," just really bad, And of course, I fell into his trap, and I would go, "Okay, old man, I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to shove this down your throat, and I'll work 3 times harder," which is exactly what he wanted. And when I left, as I was leaving San Francisco, he said to me, "Don't study under anybody else when you move back to LA." And I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." And he says, "Do you know why?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Well, because I'm afraid there's nobody in LA that's better than you that you could study under." And he goes, "It would just ruin what you have." He says, "You should teach because I don't think that anybody has anything else to show you, at least down in LA." And so I took it as a big compliment because he never said a kind word to me until the very end. But I think it was that whole idea of keeping me humble. And then at the last second, he said that. And to this day, like I saw him last year, and again, traditional Asian culture, you don't really express affection. But he's going to be 90 this year, and I'm the age that I am. And when I went to see him last time, we went out to eat together, and it was the funniest thing. We were sitting at the table, and he just reached his hand on the table, and he just held my hand. And it was like, oh man, I started cheering up. I'm like, this is crazy because it's not part of the culture. So I'd say those two things, that's my highlight reel. So
Those are
I'll
good.
take those. Yeah. It's a good run I've had so far, right? So,
I kept telling my girlfriend that if somebody ever named a restaurant either I don't know or I don't care, they would make a killing.
oh my gosh.
Because every time you go out to the girlfriend, what do you want to eat? I don't care. Well, that's where we're going.
There you go.
I keep telling
That is
people,
so
man,
true.
it's in the name. Doesn't matter what you serve, you will get tons of angry girlfriends showing up with their boyfriends to that restaurant.
That's perfect.
Or
Ooh,
where do you want to go?
Yeah.
Yeah, where do you want to go? There's another one.
It's like a who's on first kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, here's a good one. Here's the next question. I like this one a lot. What fictional place would you most like to go to?
Oh,
That's a good one, right?
oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, right.
Strange enough, I think for me it'd be Hyperborea.
Yeah.
Conan. I think that'd be cool.
Well, see, it's kind of a loaded question, right? Like you could say like there's movies and things you like, but would you really want to be there?
Right,
And,
that's the thing.
like,
What if we only read like
know?
dystopian or like grimdark? Like, you wouldn't want to go to
Yeah.
Westeros.
I
yeah,
know.
you go to Westeros, like they'd eat me for breakfast.
Yeah.
I know. I never
Rivendell.
said I'd survive there. I said I'd just like to
Rivendell?
go there.
So, Barb said Rivendell. That
Rivendell's a good one,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be
That'd be
peaceful,
good.
man. Yeah,
Either that or Hogwarts,
Yeah.
Hogwarts. would be
Yeah.
good, too.
Mhm.
but probably Rivendell.
That
Oh.
works.
Post Voldemort.
Starship Enterprise.
Yeah,
There
I
you
can
go.
see that.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
do
because
that.
you could go all over the place. Then.
Go anywhere with that.
That'd be
Yeah.
more fun.
I like that.
As long as I wasn't wearing a red shirt,
Yeah.
would be good.
I would. The fictional place I'd like to go to is Night City in Cyberpunk 2077. If they could make the game work. How's
There you go. Yeah.
They in the game.
Yeah. So I was seeing all those memes, but I feel kind of bad because I'm sitting there with like my 40 hours played on Steam.
Yeah.
Like, well,
Yeah.
I'm having a good time.
Because-
But I would probably say something like Azeroth from World of Warcraft.
Okay.
Which
Okay, yeah.
it has its share of like terrible demonic invasions and dragons erupting from the core of it, but for the most part, you could have a pretty decent time.
There you go. All things considered.
Yeah.
What about you, Roberta?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Uh,
Hard pass.
Too many things in my head. I don't know.
I was thinking like
What's that world from Neverending Story? I like that one.
Strange enough, I was going to say Fantasia. That's the name of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually going to say, I was going to add that one on.
That was pretty awesome.
Fantasia was awesome.
like if I didn't want any real life troubles, it would be like some type of sitcom, right? Which is like the weirdest one. But then you have to deal with the laugh track and all that stuff.
Yeah.
In the background. It would drive you mad.
That'd be
You know?
so annoying.
Yeah, make it stop. Yeah, that's a good question. Let's see what's up next. Well, Kidson's interesting. What's something you learned in the last week?
Oh,
I'm going to pass on that one.
Yeah,
I learned this week.
How to make a better
I
snowflake.
understand.
How to make a better paper snowflake.
There you go.
And how did you learn that? Just by experimentation? or by-
No, it was by working on a craft project.
Okay.
So it wasn't of my own accord, but I nonetheless perfected it to my own way.
Okay.
So it was fun. I played around.
Excellent. Tim, anything you learned last week?
Yeah, figure out how to phrase it, but so be ready, be prepared to reconnect with old people in life. Just yeah, I just recently connected with some old friends, and it's been the best.
Awesome.
Great. That's a good thing.
Dumb enough, I've been getting into Gundam models a little bit. Very rarely because I don't have any place to. I love building them, but I don't have any room to put them.
They're awesome.
So I'm very picky. But I learned how to put dry decals on.
Oh
dry
yeah, yeah.
decals. I learned how to put those on. So I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So yes, I'm learning a little bit. Of course, I always watch the master model builders on YouTube, and then go like, "I'll never be that good."
Yeah.
Those guys are insane.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Come on, Peter.
Yeah, what about you?
I learned today that Tom Hanks played 6 characters in the film Polar Express.
Really?
Nice to
Huh.
know.
Did not know that.
Well, we do family quizzes, and these are the sort of questions we
Yeah.
have at the moment. So I learned that today.
Nice.
I can't think of anything else. I'm sure I've learned loads of stuff.
It's just none of it ever sticks.
No. Comic book knowledge, facts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, that's in there forever. But anything meaningful, no.
Yeah. I think like one thing that I learned, my wife and I are watching like this astronomy live presentation, and I didn't realize that, you guys may know it, but I guess one of the reasons that winter celebrations are so popular was because it had to do with food, right? That the food sources were depleted, and that you couldn't get fresh food or things like that. And so once you hit around the Christmas time, that was the time where we were about to kind of turn the corner and start, everything's going to be plentiful again. And how that tradition and that aspect of it has disappeared because of preservatives and modern technology and electricity. where really this is the best of times to be eating, you know, but that's not exactly why the celebration was there before. So that's
Mhm.
what happened.
I learned that Jupiter and Saturn are lining up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And that's
Yeah,
the
that's
first time.
right.
I'm hoping we don't have cloud cover,
Yeah.
Tim, but I get a feeling we will.
We
This is
probably
gonna
yeah.
suck.
I mean, today was just, you know, I woke up, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just in a cyberpunk novel right now. Everything's gray and
Yeah.
wet.
I know. So hopefully tomorrow we'll get it. Because I'm like, if not, then I'm like, well, I guess anyone gets a picture of it, show me.
Yeah.
Because I may not be able
Cool.
to see it from
Yep.
my end.
well,
I guess
here's another good question. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say also, I guess in that aspect, something a little more fun facty. In about 30 years or so, we may actually be able to like have a fast engine type ship sent to Mars.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Really, that would be cool. Very cool.
That would.
Well, the next question, this is a nice one, is what's your favorite book? That's a
My favourite book.
yeah.
Oh my
You mean those
goodness.
things with like words and
I
stuff?
have to pick one?
I know it's
One.
Yeah, I know that's a terrible thing to say. 'cause
That's
there is-
really.
Can it be comic book? Does it have to be book?
Well, I'd say for sake of the stream, let's I'm gonna make it easy. We'll do what's one of your favorite comic books and one of your favorite books.
Okay.
So, you guys are ready.
Should I start?
Yeah, go.
Because I was just reminded of my favorite book in a conversation with a friend of mine recently that I loved and probably always will
Yes, that's a good one.
find it. And it was
Oh,
when I
that-
was really young, I read it, and then it unraveled itself in different levels of understanding when I got older. And
the
Just
Zoom
really
cutout. What was that again?
Watership Down
Oh yeah, yeah.
and I'm reading Monstrous right now. Really love it.
Right, comic books. What really got me into, I mean, I was sort of into comics when I was a teenager, but really what really dragged me back in and really grabbed me was the first ElfQuest series. So the later ones didn't grab me as much as that one, but the first series was just absolutely stunning. I love that. As far as book goes, boy, there's so many of them. I was totally hung up when I was a little girl. I was totally hung up on the Black Stallion series. But I would have to probably say the Lord of the Rings series. And I made the huge mistake of picking up the first one during finals week in college. And that was such a mistake.
Wow.
Because I never got such bad grades in my life. Once I picked it up, that I couldn't put it down and I wasn't studying. So
Tolkien.
Yeah.
I would say I'd be curious. Didn't you work on a later version of ElfQuest? Didn't you?
You did, right?
Did.
So that had to be really cool, right? Going from
Pretty cool.
actually, that was my first writing credit. I actually had a story that I wrote and inked in one of the books, and then I also inked several other of the books. But yeah, so I do have a previous writing credit before Divinity.
Nice. That's excellent. Pete, how about you?
My favourite comic book is Amazing Spider-Man 122, The Death of Gwen Stacy. Not because she dies, that's pretty morbid, but because actually it's the last page. There's nothing's really said. It's all that emotion that he conveys just through the artwork. I think it's incredible. And it's the first comic that I really was like, wow, that's amazing. Favorite novel, pretty much anything by Joe Abercrombie. I think Best Served Cold was the first novel of his I read, and I literally pick up everything he writes now. It's so good.
Yeah.
If you like your fantasy, your violent fantasy.
I haven't started his most recent book, but yeah, I just got into the First Law series, which
The
is
First Law is so good. Logan Ninefingers is one of the greatest characters ever invented. Yeah, anything he writes is amazing.
And
Books are.
Yeah.
I would say I used to read the Myth series by Robert Asprin. I really like those books. As far as comic book, I'm actually thinking of something that's a complete book instead of a comic book series. I'd probably say one of my favorites that just keeps popping into my head is Martha Washington Saves the World by Dark Horse. I
So
really,
good.
really liked that series.
Yeah.
And they finally collected it, so it's one book, even though it was a series. It's
Right.
collected in one huge volume. So yeah, I think
Dave
that's what it's
Gibbons
called.
and Frank Miller, right?
I think it's called actually The Life and Times of Martha Washington. Is the complete book. I think that's what it was called. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great series. What about you, Tim? Did you?
I would say favorite book would be Neuromancer by William Gibson.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah, just the aesthetic of it is something that I immediately fell in love with, and I've just loved in science fiction ever since. Hence why I am spending too much time in cyberpunk, and it is destroying my relationships.
It's your time.
And favorite comic book, it's which is a form of virtual future cyberpunk, which is Vandroid, which was originally supposed to be a movie put out by Palm Springs Entertainment, but then Palm Springs Entertainment caught fire, literally. So the eventually Dark Horse put out the comic, written by Tommy Lee Edwards, art by Dan McDade, and it is set in 1984, following a mercenary android who was put together by the high performance parts of one of those high performance vans that had wizards painting on the side.
Yeah.
Someone literally tears one of those down and builds an android to do like a rescue mission.
Oh, that's so cool. That's
So
awesome.
I love it. Yeah.
You know, are you into cyberpunk? Did you ever get into Appleseed?
Yeah.
Tim?
Yes.
Yeah. Guess the show. That would probably be my second one. I was really into that.
Yeah.
Back in the day. It's really hard to break down all of those books.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite RPG universe is Shadowrun, which is like Magic cyberpunk hybrid. It's great.
Well, it's funny. Way back in the day when Malibu Comics got dismantled, and I had come back to California from college briefly, and I saw Roland just before he moved out of California. He had the Shadowrun SNES game. I still remember.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
He and Brittany was just a baby. Brittany was the first baby I ever had. Roland gave her to me, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do with this thing, And then he gave me his copy of Shadowrun. I knew what to do with that. So Shadowrun is but that was a great tabletop game. Yeah. For me, probably one of my favorite books is the Book of Five Rings. I absolutely adore that. Yeah, it's a short book, but there's so much depth to it, and kind of like what Roberta said, it's one of those books that you can come back to, and with new insight. And if you don't know what it is, it's a book by one of the most celebrated Japanese samurai, and he was undefeated. And when he was as he got older, he was about to die, he sequestered himself to a cave and wrote a manual to his student about his strategies to success, and it basically was broken down to 5 different elements, or 5 rings. And each chapter has a different thing about swordsmanship, but it's almost like a self-help book, but it basically has a lot of strategy that you can adhere to life with. And the coolest part about it is the 5 rings are like fire, water, earth, wind, and then the 5th one is called void, which is basically antimatter. The idea that you can have all these things, but you have to understand the absence of things. So for those of us in an art background, it's like negative space,
I didn't even know.
I've actually heard of that.
Yeah. It's a great book. Yeah, I highly recommend. It's a short read, and in the 80s, Japanese businessmen used it to go to war, quote unquote, with American businessmen, and American businessmen found out about it, and they got it translated, and they were using the strategies in business meetings with Japanese companies. It was really cool. So that's one of my favorite books. And then comic books was of course there's so many, but one of the ones that stands out is it was a G.I. Joe Larry Hama G.I. Joe issue 26, which was like the origin of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. The
silent issue.
Oh no, that one's a little bit later, but this one was all written, but this was about them in Vietnam and how they both were in the same platoon and all this stuff. But I'll never forget, that was one of the first comic books that really grabbed a hold of me, to the point where I read it so much the cover tore off, and I actually had masking tape like around the edge. And so like to have a comic book that I was that into, that probably is probably one of my favorites. Yeah. Let's see what we got next, folks. Okay, it's starting to. Oh gosh, this one's perfect for us. We probably have covered this before, but if you could have any superpower, what would it be and why? I think we did this before, didn't we?
We did that.
Yeah, we did a whole session on that.
Did a whole session on that. So I think. Okay, this is a fun one. What incredibly strong opinion do you have that is completely unimportant in the grand scheme of things?
Completely unimportant.
Wow.
For me,
No idea.
quinoa for me.
There
So, there you go.
Incredibly strong opinion.
Uh-huh.
I know. I will say there are certain phrases that come into popular lexicon that drive me up the wall, and I update the list every so many years. This is one reason why I can't really get into a lot of modern movies, because you hear them. The newest one that drives me nuts, and I actually every movie I watch, I wait for it, and they'll say it every movie. Let's do this. Listen, every movie they say that.
And they say that in every podcast now.
Yep.
And
Yes, let's do this. And it's like that's the
Oh,
other
it's
one,
terrible.
Stranger Not in the Military, is go, go, go. They only say it 3 times, no less, no more. 3 times, and I have no idea why. Like the first 2 times, the soldier's like, "What was that?"
Mhm.
Say it a 3rd time. Yeah. Then of
I
course I
think
have
the
the list
third
goes
time
down.
means they mean business.
They mean business, right? The first 2 they weren't taking it seriously.
Yep.
Yeah. Or this isn't business. It's not personal. This is business. Like,
Yeah.
So cliched, right?
The new one, and I think this is going away, is This Ends Now. I think that's starting to go away, but that's still I still see it here and there.
Yep.
So yeah.
I like that.
I can't think of anything.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a loaded question, right? Because obviously it's important to you if you have a very strong
Right.
opinion about it. So for us, I'm gonna nix that question. I don't think that belongs in this conversation.
No one takes thought.
Yeah.
I think
Huh?
that might take thought,
So-
to actually
Yeah.
come up with a good answer.
I think it would be a better question if it's like what is a unimportant pet peeve?
Mm.
Because really it's like you and me with the slogans, it's just a pet peeve. Does it have any impact
Yeah.
on the world? No. Pet peeves seem a little more inconsequential than an unpopular opinion.
I have a lot of
The
pet
way they
peeves.
worded it. Yeah. Yeah, I know you do,
Yes.
Barb.
Let me list them.
I know.
Most of them have to do with grammar.
I know you've sent me the list in the email. Aaron, next time we go stream, can you just be mindful of these things?
Well, no, it's writing. It's like lose versus loose. Be and yeah, maybe. It's not maybe. I don't. There's just a lot of them. A lot of spelling errors people use nowadays.
Now that texting is a big deal, it seems like that skill is
Yeah.
unimportant.
Yeah.
Yes.
They don't care.
Especially now with the emoticons, it's like we're going back to hieroglyphs, right?
Yeah.
It's like
These things, I know the people that write entire sentences in emoticons. I'm like, wait, what?
Comics are the first form of written language.
Yeah.
totally.
Mhm.
Well, let's see what the next question is. What's the best thing you got from one of your parents?
The How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. So I got as a gift, as a
Really?
Christmas present as a kid. Yeah,
Yeah.
still the best thing I ever got. Yeah.
My first car.
Oh,
What type of car was it?
It was a little Chevy Monza, which is a tiny little car, very sleek looking, but somebody had shoved a V8 engine in it with a huge motor, and that sucker could outrun the cops easily.
And
And
did it?
did.
And I'm sure you found that out.
Yes.
That's all on Pete's lines. The DK Books Marvel Comics Complete Encyclopedia.
Oh
It's-
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's just a giant tome that like you just set on your coffee table to take up the entire coffee table that went through each character, all their appearances, and everything like that.
What annoyed me is they kept bringing them out every year, updated. I was like, I can't buy this every
Yeah, I
single
know.
year.
Yeah.
So it's great when it gets gifted to you.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
well, I'd say art lessons from my dad, for sure. When I was really young, helped a lot. Because of course I loved it, but to have someone to say, well, okay, take this and look at it a little differently, really helps. You start training your eye.
Definitely.
There's the one that jumps to me, which is inconsequential, but it was cool to me, was this shelf thing. I know it sounds weird. My parents put a shelf towards the top of my room that go to around half of my room. And then I could display all my toys up there. So that was the best thing because I got to display all my stuff up high. And it was like, and I still use it to this day. Yes, the display stuff. But yeah, that was probably and at the first I'm like, why is this important? And then when you start putting stuff up, I'm like, this is awesome. So it's like, yeah, it's a show.
The best thing ever. Tim, how about you?
Oh, and I said the DK Books Marvel
Oh, the DK
Encyclopedia.
books.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
that's
It's
okay,
just
that's fine. Okay. Yeah, for me, I think it was I mean, one of the cool things was I still remember my parents were divorced. My dad lived in Hawaii. We lived in California, and this was just when Youngblood #1 was going to come out. So there was a lot of news, and Malibu Comics was publishing it. And my dad was coming to visit me for my birthday, so it was like March of '92, '91, whatever. And he knew I loved comic books, and he knew that Malibu Comics office was near where we lived. So he sent all these Hawaiian macadamia nut chocolates to everybody at Malibu, including Scott Rosenberg, the president of the company. And he said, "Hey, my kid loves comic books. Would you please take us on a tour?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure." And so when my dad came to visit, we went to Malibu Comics, and I got a tour. And then, like I've said many times, eventually that led to me working there. So that was probably one of the coolest things, because that's why I'm here with you guys now. So
Cool.
Great.
All right. Let's see. We're closing in on the last couple questions. Let's see. Starting to repeat itself. What are you interested in that most people haven't heard of?
Ooh, I got a good one for that.
All right, let's hear it, Bob.
I collect historical recipes.
Oh.
That is true. No one is interested. I'm just kidding.
Yes, no one else is interested in that.
Ouch.
I have got facsimiles of Martha Washington's cookbook, Pioneer cookbooks, Civil War cookbooks. You wouldn't believe some of the recipes in those suckers. I mean,
Have you ever tried to make them?
Yeah.
oh, I'm never gonna make mouse pie. No.
No. Okay. Well, you never know. I mean, give it a shot.
Never say never.
Yeah. That's yeah. I mean, there are actually recipes in there for the hard up pioneers who are out there starving. Like, catch 6 fat field mice. Like, no. It's good to know. I love the historical fact of it. Pickled tumbleweed. No. Don't really want to make that either. That's what they did in the Depression because they were so starving. But I just like historical recipes. How people respect it.
That's cool.
There was a TV show my friend Summer used to watch. What was Super something? It was these two people that would recreate certain eras, medieval times, and certain eras, but they'd recreate the food from them. They'd actually cook
And I
the
love
food,
that.
and then they'd eat it. I can't remember the name of the show. It was this girl and this guy that would do this. And it was really fascinating watching the dishes, but they would try to make them as authentic as possible. And sometimes the food that they eat, they were like, "Oh my god," they couldn't take it. But it was pretty interesting. I can't remember the name of that show now.
Yeah,
So
it just fascinates me how people
So
did stuff back then.
that is amazing.
yeah.
I know one of the things that fascinated me is that food itself has changed in order to be made available to the mass public. The flavors have become very
Changed.
bland and smaller, so like the actual taste of some of these dishes would have to have the food recreated somehow.
So a lot of that food doesn't
Not
even
just the
exist
recipe,
anymore because
food.
the corn has been all hybridized and
Yeah,
it doesn't even taste the same.
and the fruits and yeah.
Yeah, but I just like even some of the historical aspects of it. Like Marsha Washington's cookbook says, "Boil ye," and the boil is spelled BOYLE. "Boil ye 1 ox heart." Okay, let me just run out and get one.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah, it just fascinates me.
Barbara's
cool,
at the
you-
grocery store. An ox heart is this big. We don't have any. No, go check in the back. You have some.
Amazon has it for
Amazon has it.
Yeah,
Ox
this is
heart. Yeah. Brought to you fresh by Amazon.
It's funny because my sister spent years working in Switzerland, right, in marketing and branding for like food companies and stuff like that. And you were talking about modern food, and she was saying, "Curtis, you have no idea how much branding changes from country to country." And she goes, like, "You never realize how violent American is as a society when you see how like Lay's brands their potato chips. Like in the U.S., everything is like kicking and dynamite and like high impact cheese and all this. And in France, it's like, or in Switzerland, it's like artisanal cheese. It's the same product." but everything American has to have like actual explosions on the bag, and it's like super violent. I thought that was the funniest thing.
That is funny.
Yeah.
So you can feel badass when you're eating it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Anybody else have something that you're interested in that most people have not heard of?
Oh, I really, really love water towers, specifically the ones in New York. I think that's that's the only place you see them. And for someone who doesn't live in New York or live in America, when you land in New York, they're the greatest thing in the world, because I've only ever seen them in comic books, and then suddenly there they are. And I will literally just I'll go around taking photos of water towers. My phone's full of photos of water towers, and they're great reference. And I will draw water towers all day long.
You'll see them in
I
Chicago
noticed that
too.
in your artwork.
Yeah,
I noticed them in your artwork.
I'll give me an opportunity to draw a rooftop and a water tower. I'm all over it.
That's great.
So yeah, that's my weird thing.
Strange enough, you should make a superhero where his secret base is like an empty water tower. That actually would be kind of cool.
Be so
Right?
cool.
Yeah. Like, I mean, who would ever guess that he'd be living in there, making like big or something?
In the new Marvel Avengers game, we get like one scene where we found out that Kamala Khan is set up in one before they just scrap the
really?
entire location.
Really?
Yeah, but it is a really cool idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I have a band that I'm really into that I don't know. This may be more of a cultural thing of America, but a band called Love Bites. That's a Japanese metal band. But as far as other stuff I'm into, no, I think people pretty, I guess, relatively popular. Maybe the other stuff is maybe some of my friends' independent comics. My friend does a comic called Equinox that I'm into and stuff that I like. But I don't know if that's just lack of marketing. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's kind of a difficult one for me.
There's a subgenre of metal called gent, which I love, but it's a subgenre of an already obscure genre.
What is the characteristics of it?
So gent, spelled DJENT, is characterized by it's a onomatopoeia. So if you're playing a guitar and you have an open note and then you palm mute and then you kind of open note again, you're going to create this gent type sound. So you still have palm muting followed by opens and bends. So it's really chuggy kind of hard driving through the verses, but the choruses will usually open up into something a little more proggy, and that's when we'll get very melodic and do. But because they're already working such a weird structure in the verse, and it also requires different time signatures in order to get it to actually sound like a song when you're essentially playing muted notes the entire time. So end up getting these really weird like songs in like 6/8 at like 159 BPM. And so then they have to bend that in some weird way to get melodic choruses. And so it makes it for some really interesting sound combinations and a concept called the wall of sound, where it's just how your sound stacks on top of each other. It creates a really interesting way how that all interacts all the way down the wall.
Oh, that's cool. It's called is it called gent?
Gent, yeah.
I have to check that out.
Yeah. Oh man, there's a really popular band that actually is well known that kind of pioneered it. Meshuggah.
Okay, yeah.
If you've listened to anybody, you might have heard of Meshuggah at some point, and they're known as kind of being pioneers of it in a modern sense. But one band I like in that space is Periphery or Any Given Day.
I know those are. They say they're a metal band, but we'll say that there's a band I like called Bon Canto that is a metal a cappella band.
Ooh.
They just use drums and the rest of their voices. It's kind of interesting. They're a German band.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard anyone else attempt it, but that's some interesting stuff. They do a lot of covers of songs because it's a cappella, so they cover Metallica songs. They sound decent. Their original stuff's the best, though. So, yeah, they have metal genre of everything. Yeah, metal is like classic for taking all sorts of crazy genres and mixing them to come up with just weird stuff. Yeah.
They'd like that.
Yeah. The Tuvanese throat singers, like in Mongolia and stuff.
Yeah.
Like a metal band version of it, which is like
the Who.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's so great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that's cool.
Yeah, they have one that sings New Zealand, the not the Haka, the tribe that does the Haka. I can't think of them.
Maori.
Yeah, they sing in Maori and stuff as a metal band. It's pretty cool to watch. I can't remember what they were called.
Alien Weaponry.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah, there's one band that is, I forgot their name. Something Lotus. But they describe themselves as progressive spiritual dharma metal, and they're a bunch of practicing Hindus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
So
do some cool stuff.
yeah.
Well, have you seen the band that actually dresses up like it's almost like Norse? Like the lady wears like a full like white
Oh yeah,
robe.
yeah,
I
Hyland.
can't. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that is a trippy band. That is
Well,
cool.
from from a perspective of something else that no one else cares about, as someone who has published works on like ancient Viking Germanic cultures and how they interacted with Rome. What
Yeah,
that band did is they went through the old ruins that they could find, and working with uh, museums in Denmark, where they're located out of, and London, they reconstructed old Germanic that would have been spoken at around like the 400s. Uh, so it's all hypothetical pronunciations. But as far as we can guess, that's the best recreation of Old Germanic that no one else speaks, and they sing all their songs in that language.
yeah. And you should just see their stage presence.
Yeah.
It's cool. I mean, that whole band, I sound like this is really cool. So yeah, they're say their name again because it's really
Hylan,
high. That yeah, but
yeah,
it's
which
spelled
is HEILLUN, something like that, but or
something like
NN
that. Yeah.
or GG, but it's it's Old Germanic for the word for healing, but healing in a plural sense.
Yeah.
Well, I have
Well,
an obscure interest that I think people won't know about, or at least don't think about. Is I'd heard somewhere in several places that medieval people used to walk differently, planting their toe first.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Really?
And if
I've
you
heard
look
that.
at medieval paintings and you know how all the people look, they always look like they're ballet or something. You know, it's an odd shape to their step.
I've heard that too.
Interesting.
I heard that
Yeah.
everybody walked differently until just kind of recently. That
Yeah, well,
decided, you know, with the kind of heels that we put shoes in to walk heel first. And I think it's kind of interesting that I tried practicing walking toe first. When you do that, you actually use so much more muscles in your legs and everything, and your posture improves. And I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. It's
wow.
That's
not
kind of have to
it's
try that out.
not as efficient, I guess, when you break it down. It it's a lazier way to walk heel first. It gets the least amount of energy to get the furthest. So that's why people like it.
Huh.
But you
Interesting.
can, I was like, oh, you actually can burn more calories this way. That'd be
Right.
kind of cool. And then
Yeah.
also my posture was better. So I'm like, well, I'll try it now and then just for fun. So it's a weird little thing that I
That
don't think
is
anyone
cool.
thinks about.
It's like I heard
Yeah.
people used to kiss without closing their eyes, but then when films came out, everybody was like, you know, their eyes were open when they kissed, so they just started closing them, and then it became pop. You know, that's the way we
All
do
right.
it now. I don't know if that's true or not, but
Right.
well, folks, I think we are at the end of the show. I think we ran up, so we'll close things out unless anybody has anything else you'd like to add, or we're good. So before we go around and everybody kind of gives their spiel about where you can find us online, of course, we at Silverline want to thank all of you, the fans, the viewers, the readers, for supporting us, for supporting our endeavors and making comic books. Like I always say, we absolutely love reading, making comic books, and we're just so happy and so blessed to have you as our audience. We have some amazing things coming up next year from these creators that I'm online with right now, and from all our creators. So thank you so much. Please keep supporting us. We will definitely keep producing great comic books for you. Stay safe and have a happy new year. And personally, from me to my fellow people here on the stream, I just want to thank you guys. I can say personally, I met all of you folks at the beginning of this whole COVID thing. I'll be really frank, before the whole COVID thing, I was kind of part of Silverline only in name. I was so busy with my day-to-day life, and like everybody, this whole COVID thing just completely sent a shockwave through my life. And I figured I'd use that time to work on comic books and spend time with you guys. I am just so blessed and honored to meet you guys. You guys are just such a cool group of people. I've gotten to hang out with you every week during this absolutely crazy time.
That
I've
is
had a
good.
blast doing it. I've gotten to know so much more about you, and I really want to thank you guys so much. It's just been an absolute pleasure, and I can't wait for 2021. At least this part of 2021, I think, is going to be great. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
fingers crossed. Right? Fingers crossed. So let's go around. Let's have everybody kind of remind people who you are, where they can find you online. Let's go ahead. Let's start with Barb. Barb, if you could please remind everybody.
All right, this is how you spell my name. Barb Kalberg, Kaalberg. And you can find me under that name on Instagram, DeviantArt, Twitter, and Facebook. So I'm the only Barbara Kalberg on the internet. So it's not exactly hard to track me down.
Good for you.
Very good. And Roberta, if you'd be so kind.
I wish I was the only Roberta Conroy on social media. I don't know why. I have a hard time with that. So I do have Roby Conroy as my Instagram name, and you can find my website is robyconroy.com. And I'm on Facebook under Roberta Conroy. So that's about it.
Very good. And Aaron?
You can find me on the Facebooks and the Instagrams. Instagram, I'm ALH3810, and then Facebook, my name, or Humphrey's Illustration. Just remember, if you spell my last name HUMPHRES, you have an RES, you'll find me. I'm the only. I must be the only person in the world that spells Humphreys like that. So I think this is the two places. Oh, and then my comic Goblins is on Webtoons, which I'll be dropping another update tomorrow.
Yay.
Yeah.
And Pete?
Yeah, it's Peter Clinton Art. You can just type that into Google. Website will come up. Instagram, Peter Clinton Art. Facebook, Twitter. You'll find me on all of them, but Instagram basically. If you want to see, snippets of what we're working on at Silverline, Instagram is a place to go.
Definitely. And will you be taking commissions into next year, or is that?
Yeah. Just keep them rolling. As long as no one expects anything before Christmas. Now you're.
Yeah.
We'll just keep, commissions are open, so you'll find the price list everywhere.
Excellent.
Or just message me.
Okay.
We'll be fair.
Tim.
I am on all the social medias at TimTKWriter. I am also on TikTok at Tim Doesn't TikTok. And I'm also on Twitch at AgroBacon, spelled here, where I'll be live later tonight with some Destiny 2.
Excellent.
Wow.
Excellent. And myself, you can find me on Facebook, Curtis Fujita. That's Curtis with a K. You can also find me on Instagram and YouTube, Tiger Crane 805. That's one word. That's from my martial arts school. And you can find my martial arts school on Facebook, Tiger Crane Kung Fu. And so, as we close out the final Silverline show of 2020,
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Right.
We look forward to seeing all of you next year in 2021. We're going to make this one quick on the count of 3.
Oh.
Everybody ready?
Right.
All right. Until 2021. 1, 2, 3.
Make
mine
Silverline.
There you go. You guys were on. We got it. All right. See you guys next year. Have a good one. Be safe.
Bye.